This is a Hot Pie Media original.
Welcome back to Overcome with Justin Wren. I don't know what you are in the middle of overcoming in your life. You have overcome 100% of your darkest days. But man, do we have an overcomer here today on the episode. You are going to be incredibly, deeply encouraged because this man has overcome more than most probably would or could in his life. He's my boxing coach. He's also my sponsor in recovery. His name is Jeffery Meadows, and he's the owner and founder of Black Sheep Boxing here in Austin, Texas. It is a gym, a boxing school that teaches you how to fight, not only in the ring, but in life. Life's a fight. And they have a program, Fight for Your Life, that specifically helps people in recovery or with mental health issues. They sponsor so many people through the program, and it is literally one of the gyms I've joined a lot, being a fighter for 15 years now and wrestling for, coming up on almost 20 years. It's one of the gyms, if not the gym that I've been most excited to join. Why? Because it's purpose driven, just like Jeffery shares in this episode. I think you're going to be deeply, deeply encouraged. Jeffrey's first time getting really in trouble and sent to maybe alternative school, and then after that into being incarcerated and sent to institutions from 11 years old until he was 30. That is 19 years in and out of trouble, struggling with addiction to alcoholism and to drugs. The guy is one of the most helpful and he's as real as it gets. That's actually the saying of the UFC, as real as it gets. And this dude is just one of the realest. And so I'm really excited that you're going to be able to tune in and listen to Jeff's story. Now, I asked you at the top of this intro, what is it that you're overcoming? Me personally, I actually had a relapse, and I am in process of overcoming that. I've decided to seek help and was encouraged to do so by the people in my life that love me, but also I knew it. And this has been my decision to go back to treatment. Well, Jeff's actually helping me with that. And so I'm going to go get some healing in. I'm going to be going away for at least 30 days, if not 60 to 90. And I'm going to be working a real program, hoping for a new experience, some newfound freedom, and some tools that I can put in my toolbox that will help me overcome some of my darkest days. There'll be dark days to come. And so how do I cope with those? Hopefully never again with drugs and alcohol. But if so, those relapses, I want to be shorter and shorter and shorter. So anyways, this is part 1 of 2 episodes we'll release. And the first one, we go into Black Sheep Boxing. We go into Jeff's story, his upbringing, how he found freedom, and how he found freedom also through helping other people. In part 2, buckle up, Buttercup, because we go into a lot of my story, the current situation and relapse, me needing to seek help, and then also how Jeff's going to be part of that process. He's part of the team. He's actually kind of quarterbacking some of it, so a lot of it. And so I'm very grateful for him, although I'm the one that's got to do the work. It's not on him. It's not even on the people at the treatment center. They're there to help and to assist. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. I'm grateful for this man you're about to hear from. So a little bit of business for the show. We hope that these episodes will continue regularly. But if not, please have some grace and leniency, because I'm trying to help myself so I can come back and hopefully help some others, but I got to help me first. For the show, if this encourages you, or if you know someone that needs help, please either send this out to them, or please rate, review, subscribe to the show. That helps it. And we're going to continue to help people. We're going to be given back to Fight for the Forgotten, continuing through the show. And hopefully I'll come out even better, stronger, and being able to help more people after this. But anyways, we're going to get to the show, and thank you for tuning in. You're an overcomer, and let's look at this conversation. I'm so grateful that you're here, Jeff. I love you. Mm-hmm. You're a gift to me, and I guess what I want you to know or hear starting off is I've seen people that have been impacted by your life. I'm one of them, but I think about Jason, the first guy that was sponsored to come through Black Sheep Boxing, your gym, and how you've impacted his life in a deep and great way, and so many others. Moose. I could just keep listing off a bunch of names, but I really appreciate you and the friend that you are in my life, and also that you're my boxing coach, but mostly that you're my sponsor in recovery, and that life's a fight. Or this is the biggest fight of our life, right? Both
Absolutely.
you and me, addiction, and it's a battle that can absolutely kill us, you and me both, and we both know that. And I guess that what I'm hoping to do with this is honor your story in this conversation. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I know that this is your first podcast, and I'm really excited that this is I'm honored that your first podcast is my podcast, because when I get around you, like I always leave feeling better than when I came in. And that's a true gift that you have. You're an encourager, you're a fighter, you're a coach. And there's so many good things about you, bro. And that goodness has been a real gift to me in my life, and the people around me. And there's also been times that I really dropped the ball and didn't utilize the help and support. There's been times you told me, that, hey, you got my number, you got to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been times I haven't. And, I'm getting ready to go to treatment, rehab, and to work on my recovery, because I've had a setback. And I just think it's that set up for a stronger comeback. And anyways, Jeffery Meadows, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. It's been a journey. In a short amount of time we've known each other, from Oklahoma and all the good stuff. There's one thing I really want to pinpoint, a setback, that's your mindset. It's an opportunity, so a setback, it's, I don't believe in, we don't fail. We just discover a way that doesn't work. That language, and the vocabulary you use whenever you describe what you're going through, I believe is very important. Yeah. Because our mind will try to kill us and make it look like an accident if we continue and feed it the bullshit.
Oh, I think that's so good. That's whether it's addiction, for sure. Mm-hmm. Our brain's trying to kill us and make it look like an accident, or even depression. Yeah. Like when I've lost a lot of friends this year by suicide, and and it's like, yeah, your brain's trying to kill you and make it look like an accident. I mean, that's not an accident, suicide, but
no, I heard that in the first AA meeting I ever went to.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, but it aligns with my life, because from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed, it's spiritual fucking warfare. Am I allowed to cuss on here?
Yeah, for sure.
So like it's literally, it's my brain. It's just a war of good and evil, and I want to start with, I saw my counselor therapist about maybe 3-4 weeks ago. Anna, she's an amazing individual. And, the universe presented me with an opportunity, a hot stove. I touched the hot stove. And so I needed to see somebody for it. And so I'm in there talking to her. And so she breaks this down for me. She goes, Jeff, every morning I wake up, there Anna is, addict Anna. And she's in a fucking cage. And she goes, Jeff, sometimes that cage is quiet. And sometimes that cage is fucking shaking, just rattling, just extremely loud. And she goes, Jeff, I acknowledge it. I respect addict Anna. I acknowledge she's there. She goes, but Jeff, I will never let that bitch out. She goes, and because I had a lot of self-doubt. I had a lot of character assassination, self-pity. And I was explaining it to her. She goes, Jeff, that's addict Jeff. She goes, your cage is fucking rattling. She goes, so acknowledge him, respect him, but don't let that motherfucker out. And so I've been able to separate So my mind's trying to kill me, make it look like an accident, and circle back. So all the character assassination, the self-pity, the poor me, the world owes me this or this or that, that's addict Jeff. That cage is shaking. So now I've been able to identify the shit show and I could separate it. Well, that's not me. That's not the way my brain's showing up. That's just addict Jeff. So now I could actually separate. I call it the internal calamity of the shit show. It's just so I could separate it. So I know like that's just addict Jeff talking. That's a delusion. It's not real. So now I don't go down that snowball effect. You know what I mean? So I feed it, I believe it. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the next thing you know it, addict Jeff is out of the cage. And now the tornado's fucking coming. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it just really, so that my mind's trying to kill me, make it look like an accident. It's a very real thing for people that struggle with mental health or substance abuse, alcoholism, heroin addiction, meth addiction, and then, the mental health is right there with it. So for me, where I could simplify, the addict Jeff and the way
Your
Jeff,
true self. Yeah.
Yes, my
the
true
guy
self.
I know, the man I know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know addict Jeff. There's about 3 people in my life that know addict Jeff, and they're some of my best friends, and I love them to death. And I'm sure we'll talk about Sky in a little bit and Allison. But God is good and life is great. But yeah, man, we'll dive more into it. But
yeah, well, I think what you said is really great. I was talking with a friend lately, and they were telling me about basically like taking care of that hurt inner child, and basically like now that we're older, more mature, and just have grown, we've aged, we've learned. Now it's our responsibility to like take care of that hurt child that is there and not let that hurt child take care of us. So this is just a different way to look at it, where it's like, wow, that's powerful, because sometimes that hurt inner child is in that cage rattling, screaming, having a tantrum. And then, we can instead compartmentalize, simplify it and say, no, I recognize you. And whether it's no mofo, you're not coming out. Yeah. Or it's, you know what? I'm going to love you, and I'm going to get better sleep, and I'm going to drink some water, and I'm going to go work out and hit the bag, and just take care of me, do something good for me. Yeah. Anyways, I want to get into some of your story. I really want to get into some of your story, because I know a lot of it, but I want to know more. I want to know all of it. And where'd you grow up? Set the stage for a lot of the hard stuff that you've been through, and this show's called Overcome. You've overcome a lot, Jeff. Yeah, it's I could think, my mom's played such a key role, and one of the reasons why I'm still alive today. But yeah, I'm a Jeffery Lowell Meadows Platte. I was born in Charleston, West Virginia. Grew up in Spencer for I think maybe like up to 5, somewhere around there. Then we moved to Houston. But the toxicity came at a very early age. It was, we were beaten, by my father. He's passed away now. I'm not going to get into too much about him. But I always said, and I want to share something with y'all, what it's going to lead into, because it's an amazing, transformation. I always said, if I ever see my father again, I will fucking kill him. That's what, growing up, in and out of penitentiaries and all this kind of stuff, that was the mindset I had. The resentment was so rooted to what he did to me, my brother and sister, and the way he treated us, and some of the most foulest stuff. It was like Hansel and Gretel. We lived in like a 2-story log cabin in the middle of the woods in Spencer, West Virginia. Mom wasn't around because they got divorced. She was in Houston. She really didn't know what was going on with us. And when she did, she took us out from the house. But I'm just going to say, anything that you could think of that could happen in that log cabin happened. You know what I mean? And so I was able to deal with that resentment when I first got sober about 4 years ago. And that's something that I really want to pinpoint on today, because I really think a lot of people could benefit from it, a lot. But over the years, moved to Houston shortly after, my mom came and grabbed me, my brother and sister. I'm the youngest of 3. I have an older sister, Tyler and Tiff. And then in Houston, that's when things started getting bad. I remember the first institution I went to was called Alternative Learning Center at age 11. And the first time I ever got in trouble,
it really was not my fault. Then every time after that, I was the sole reason for going to whatever facility that they were sending me to. But I will never forget the first time this girl had a crush on me, and her boyfriend. I was in sixth grade. Sixth or seventh grade. And the guy that she was dating put weed in my backpack. And this is in Houston, right? 5A school. Went and told the teacher.
Wow.
And so I went to a place called Alternative Learning Center. Had to wear a bad name tag and had to walk my hands behind my back. It's an alternative learning center for young boys. And that's whenever I got introduced to the shit show, stopped caring about everything, started hanging out with the wrong people. And it was just the domino effect. It was just, every week I'm really getting in trouble for all different types of things, and I'm real big in talking about what my life looks like now. I normally don't spend so much time in the shit.
Sure.
Because I'm sure a lot of people could relate with me, but I really want to get into the solution and how we've been able to.
Well, you can give us a high level of because what's really great, the man that I know now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but when it comes to like institutions and things like that, how much time it all stems back to that time of like being blamed for something that you didn't do. Mm-hmm. Like literally drugs being planted on you at school.
Yeah.
That's wild, bro.
Yeah. Well, the thing is then from there, if you
got blamed for it and you're getting punished for it, why not just do it anyways? That's almost.
I was never into drugs and alcohol. I was the validation. It was the acceptance. I was willing to do whatever and whenever if somebody would just be my friend. The drugs and alcohol came later. But I remember one week I had Jinkos and I had a surfer cut. Literally a week later I had
Jinko jeans.
I'm 34, so then the next week I had a fucking seashell necklace with wearing Abercrombie and Fitch, just searching like fucking somebody please like me.
Here's
please.
These Jinko jeans and here's this puka shell necklace.
Dude. And then I was then I was skateboarding. Then I got into a long, multiple years of rollerblading. That's whenever Sky and other stuff come in play. But it was mainly just, man, I just wanted to be accepted. And I was willing to skip school. My mom was raising 3 kids and she was working at Poly Ryan Hospital and she was on call, so she was a single mother raising 3 kids. We could do what the fuck when we wanted because she was always at work. I could skip school. And she'd find out, of course. But, dude, there was nothing on this earth that could have got me to listen or have some understanding or compassion where my mom was coming from. I'll just put it this way. My addiction got so bad. Whenever we got cancer, she made the joke saying, I survived your addiction. I'm going to beat cancer. Just to put into perspective on how bad it got.
Wow. Yeah. I survived your addiction. I'll survive cancer.
Yeah. And we're joking about it, but there's a lot of fucking truth behind that.
Absolutely, man.
A lot.
Yeah.
And, we've been fighting cancer for 3 years now. I think it feels like, we're doing great.
That's great, man.
Yeah. And that's just like, and then we'll get into all that.
Can I meet your mom?
Absolutely, bro.
Can't wait.
Yeah. She's an angel.
I want to thank her for bringing you into this world, man. Being patient and all that. Cause the reason I'm still here is my mom.
Yeah.
And it's literally the reason I'm here. If it was, I would have been gone at an early age.
Yeah. And it took 25 years for something to hit, and from ALC, just to put into perspective, I repeated 7th grade twice. I dropped out in 9th grade. I went to ALC, AEP, MTC, ISF, the McCabe Center.
Whenever you're saying all these, for people that don't know,
therapeutic communities. So 3 DWIs, multiple assault charges, domestic violence, and it goes on and on. Sure. And that one documentary, that Sky did, you saw all the mug shots of my entire childhood, and it's I love it because that's who I am.
You've embraced it.
Oh my God, I wouldn't change one fucking thing about my life. And the thing is, and we'll get into that mindset about struggling with alcoholism and substance abuse is one of the most biggest blessings that I truly feel chosen by. I don't know if necessarily call it God or whatever you want to believe in, but I feel chosen by something higher than my fucking self. And something that's above me.
What do you mean by that? Chosen for what?
It's in my brain.
To use this to help others?
Be of service.
Be of service.
And it's I am in an opportunity.
Isn't that what life's about? And some people have like for you and I, they're so purpose driven. Mm-hmm. And I do, man, for me, man, like you've been such a gift. So for me, I'm glad you were chosen to be in my life to help me get better.
I don't see it. I know it helps keep me fucking sober.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, besides some other stuff. But a lot of people like, hey, Jeff, like, and I'm just like, man, like, to me, it's like, it's not, I'm just saying yes. Like I gave you some free boxing gloves. Like the simplicity of helping somebody.
Dude, you came up with me to Oklahoma to help me move back because on a couple of my trips back to Oklahoma, those were danger zones because I had an apartment where I lived alone and I could use, and there's, I had everything there. And so I remember thinking like, thank God for Jeffery coming with me to help me move and to drive back here. Yeah. What was that? At least 6 hours in that big ass U-Haul.
Yeah.
It was tough, but I was so grateful you were there for me, man. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I just say like individuals that truly struggle with a physical allergy, right? So in my brain, even if it's a good morning text message, I want another one. That shit made me feel good. Mm. I can't say this enough. For people that don't know about addiction,
part of that cycle of addiction is whenever you have that first use, all of a sudden an allergy, a physical, real allergy that is accompanied by a phenomenon of craving, right? Mm-hmm. That hits.
And the mental obsession.
And you go on a spree. You want more.
It's called the vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me say I'm hungover. I wake up after a night of partying. Okay. All of a sudden I start obsessing over the next drink. Okay. Then I have the phenomenon of craving. Then I taste it. And then I can't stop and I want more. Then I black out. I wake up, I'm hungover, and now we're back in that vicious cycle. I start obsessing about it. And I truly believe addiction starts with a choice, but for certain individual, it hijacks the brain, you develop an allergy. And for my how I'm going to break this down is, for one thing, 5-hour energies, Monster drinks, porn. If something changes the way somebody feels for the better and they want more, that's food. Food's a huge one.
Yeah.
And I even struggle. That's one of the biggest things I struggle with to this day is at the end of the night, because I work so much, I'll binge eat. And my girlfriend, she's an amazing woman. I love her to death. Mm-hmm.
She's great.
Yeah. And she'll like fucking stop. And I can't. And I'll literally have to fucking throw the food away. Because if it's in that fridge, I'm going to go back to eating it. So what I'm getting at is the drugs, the alcohol, the 5-hour energies, the good morning text is not your fucking problem. I'm the problem, Justin. You're the problem. And the drugs, the alcohol, the good morning text, all that other stuff, that's the solution to the fucking problem. Because you can't sit with your own feelings and you can't sit with yourself. Mm. You need some kind of abnormal substance to change the way you feel. So now you feel okay.
Right.
One of the, this is
how it makes you feel normal. Or what you want as normal.
So this will put it in perspective. A lot of people go to the bars because it produces an effect to get drunk, right? I go to the bars, Justin, because it fixes me. Mm. I don't go to the bars to have fun and get drunk.
Yeah.
I go to the bars because it fixes me. It makes me feel okay.
Well, 9 times out of 10 when I use, that first time, I normally like it a lot. And then after that, it's like, it's a train wreck. I don't want it. And but I feel like I have to have it.
Yeah.
Like I need it. This last relapse I had, I was I was literally hitting this vape pen of THC and drinking at the same time. And I was just like, stop. But I couldn't. Or I wouldn't, but I felt like I absolutely physically couldn't stop.
It's the power of no choice. The first treatment facility I went to, one of the recovery specialists, he goes, Jeff, what's your drug and no choice? And I said, what do you mean? Like, what's your drug that you're fucking powerless over? It starts with alcohol for me. The minute I get a drink in me, I'm a diehard drug addict.
So mine's marijuana. This last time I drank a little bit, but it was just because I was trying to not do other stuff. But mine, marijuana will lead to everything else.
Yeah. And
thank God it didn't. But
the thing is, you take away the marijuana long enough, I promise you, you're going to substitute it with something else.
Yeah,
and we could have some that justifies, well, this is legal, so I'm not doing anything wrong. The thing is, if you're putting anything into your body, I don't even give a damn if it's fucking greens, or some kind of healthy beet juice. If it's becoming unmanageable, and you're taking 15 protein shakes a day, that's a red flag. The thing is we justify this is sold at HEB, so I'm not doing anything wrong. The justification, now we're in a delusion that I don't struggle with addiction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's
for those that don't know the beautiful HEB. It's a grocery store. So,
yeah.
But no, you're good.
It's like Target or Kroger.
Yeah, it's incredible. And what I want to shift to just a little bit, because you're doing incredible explaining all this. What was it? How many years were you, just for me to be reminded and the listeners, how many years was it that you were in and out of like a system, an institution?
Since age 11.
To what?
To 28.
From age 11 to 28?
28, yeah. I was in and out. Oh, it's
17 years.
Consistently, probably 9 to 10 years.
Wow.
Safe P, MTC, the McCabe Center, penitentiary.
Yeah. So what was it where the change happened?
The pain.
The pain.
I remember it was like it was yesterday. A lot of times you're going to hear people say acceptance was my answer or some shit along those lines. When I accepted I was an alcoholic, I finally was ready to change or some shit. But my story is different. I accepted the fact that I struggled with addiction 10 years ago, but I didn't give a fuck. You know why? Because I had enablers. I could burn the world down and I could still have a roof over my head. I still had people to support me. I still had people that say, I love you. What was the big change for me? My enablers, which was one of my mother, biggest enabler. And the thing is there's such a fine line from supporting and loving somebody and then enabling that you can't see the difference.
Yeah. By
knowing you're using, but still letting you sleep at my house, that's enabling.
Enabling and codependency, where
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to put myself, like, see your mother's perspective. And for her, maybe there was potentially some guilt from the time you're in Virginia or West Virginia. She's in Houston. She's trying to do what she can.
Yeah, and we've talked about all that.
Sure. And then while in her process of trying to take care of you, whenever you're feeling bad or doing things, she's just like, well, this is part of, potentially she could put some of the blame on herself or guilt, or just, I'm going to keep supporting him until he finally gets it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and nail on the head, actually, and so that's codependency, a big one. It's like, I don't know. I still work in treatment, and I still get a lot of times people come in and they talk to nurse practitioner and they're like, nurse practitioner's like, yeah, you're bipolar and you're manic and you're depression, and telling you, like, these are all the things I'm diagnosing you with. And it's like, no shit, doc. He's been banging heroin for fucking 2 years and drowning in a bottle of, Jack. Of course he's manic. And a lot of times when you take away the addiction, you slowly start taking away the mental health. I have been depressed and suicidal in addiction or in sobriety. But I have tools and I have a fellowship of friends that pull me right out. You know,
Yeah.
I reach out immediately, but whenever I'm in the pits of my addiction, now I'm isolating and I'm suicidal. That's whenever lives are lost.
Yeah. I have a doctor, psychiatrist named Dr. Daniel Amen, and he's an incredible guy. And he's, there's doctors out there that'll be quick to diagnose you without actually like looking at stuff and really remove the drugs and alcohol. And that person might not be bipolar, this or that or whatever. Because whenever I came in there, I brought in other doctors' diagnoses, right? And like showed it to him, and he didn't even really look at them. He's like, let's look at your brain first, because if you've been doing this, this, and that, let's take away this and let's really look at your brain. And so, anyways, I just think that what you're saying is right. Like, we got to remove the drugs and alcohol from our system first, and then work a program, be in recovery, or just whatever it is, pray, meditate, exercise, all that stuff.
Kind of off topic, but 90% of diseases and health issues are curable through basic dieting, just basic shit.
Preventative medicine.
Yes.
Preventative, or preventative measures.
Yes. Just exercise, go on a light jog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then invest in your health, just basic diet. That cures 99%.
Don't eat McDonald's, eat some superfoods, eat some greens.
Don't
eat fries, eat some grains. Yeah.
Instead, like, let's turn to the pharmaceuticals and let's rely on this pill to fix everything. And now I'm dependent on a fucking pill. And it's just, it gets worse and worse and worse. And again, a little off topic, but Well,
let's go to where your mom decided to stop enabling you.
So this last time I was in prison, third DWI. So I pretty much, there was an issue where I got out of prison March 24, 2017. And I remember getting out of prison. I got out from the walls out in Huntsville, and I didn't even have anybody pick me up. Like, I did so much fucking damage when I got out of prison. Like, I rode the fucking bus back to Austin. A lot of people, Jeff's getting out, let me go pick him up. Like, going in this last time, I had to turn myself in. I remember listening to Blue October, fucking crying, writing all my addresses down, knowing I'm going to go turn myself into the penitentiary, or first into county jail. And I knew I was going to go to prison. Anyway, so I get out and I ride the bus back to Austin, and the penitentiary scared me sober for about, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months. And I go back to bartending, and my girlfriend's probably going to kill me for this one, but fuck it. I go back to bartending. I start dating my bar manager, and one day she was my boss, and I took a shot of Patron. I haven't drank the entire time I was in prison. I didn't drink. I wasn't sober because I just didn't drink because I have anger issues, and I was so fucking fearful of who I was going to get involved with drunk, because Texas Department of Corrections, I mean, it's not pretty, So I didn't drink out of fear. And so I just did my time. So anyways, I remember I took a shot. I took one shot of Patron behind the bar. And this is a disease of progression. Within 30 minutes, I take my tips. I sneak out back. I called a cab. I go home. I grabbed about $800. And then I went to the club. Then I disappeared for about a week and a half. It was a dark time. It was dark, dude. It got dark real quick. And soon after that, I'm in my room, and it got dark. I'll remember a time a little before, same concept, and my mom's sitting out front. And I tried to hang myself in my room. I got my brother's extension cord out of the garage. And I went out and I told my mom bye, and I was like, I love you. And she knew something was wrong. Like, she knew something was going on. And I went and I hung myself in my room with the fan. And my mom busts the door down and calls 911, and I'm hanging. And we had a friend living with us, and they called 911, and I got a bottle of fucking vodka. It was just because I could not stop. I couldn't. I'd wake up and I'd obsess over this liquor. And I was so fucking far deep into my own shit. The guilt, the shame, all that shit. It was so bad. And the cops looking at me, I got a warrant out for my arrest. I just did some time. And I'm going back to jail. And for the first time in my life, somebody showed compassion because I was struggling. It was always like, nah, put your hands behind your back. It was always like, nope, it was very cutthroat. Like we're going to jail. Like we're going to take you on a trip. This cop sat down next to me and I was ready. Like, I know what the fuck's going on. And I'm just like, let's fucking do this. And he goes, we're not taking you to jail. I got a fucking felony warrant. And he looked at me, he said, we're not taking you to jail. And he took me to Shoal Creek Hospital. And then, dude, those mental hospitals, they loaded me up with so many fucking meds. Yeah. I'm talking so many medication, bro. And I was there for maybe 2-3 days. I can't really remember. It's a fog, but I was a walking fucking zombie.
Yeah.
There was a time about 4 years prior to that where I couldn't get out of bed. I had my own apartment and I felt like I had a midlife crisis at the age of like 19. And I was crying. My mom physically had to come pick me up out of my apartment. She drove me to a mental hospital and checked me in. It's been a road. And the thing is it's this since my entire life, like I never dealt with anything. And it was then
never faced it, never overcame.
No.
But you have now, bro. You have now, and I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, I mean, God's given me the opportunity to understand what's really going on in here, because this is the way my brain ticks. I had this really old school dude. I was in prison. And I was coming up on parole. And whenever in prison, if you get your parole denied, you have to, your next review date's a year later. And mine was May 2nd. And it was coming up. And I remember, and I'm praying to get released from prison this year. I just got a year set off. And he hears me. And this guy's done like 40 fucking years. And he said, Jeff, he goes, you need to stop asking God to release you from prison. You need to start asking God to teach you how to live in prison.
Oof.
And I got denied my parole, and everything really changed after that. I'll never forget that.
I actually wanted this morning. I did an ice bath, and I was thinking about you being my guest today, and I started thinking about prison, and I wanted your perspective on this. So thank you for bringing this up in this guy's story, because I don't know if you know, I've been in over 100 units around the country. And I've been in Folsom and San Quentin and Huntsville and all sorts of places all around. And I remember I had a guy tell me one time, because I was sharing my story of addiction and how I had 3 years sober and stuff like that. And he came up and he goes, I really appreciate your story. He goes, you know what God's done for me in my life is that I'm more free in prison than I ever was outside of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? That was like a moment where I was like, whoa. And I watched a show last night with Amy, and a guy had just gotten released from prison, like 10 years in prison. And he ended up saying some powerful quote. I wish I would have wrote it down, but it was that there's so many people walking around in chains, and that you can be out of prison, but still be in a prison inside here.
Absolutely.
And, so where did you start to find freedom whenever it comes to,
so what I was actually saying was, instead of asking God to release me from prison, I started asking God to teach me how to live in prison.
Wow.
So anyway, so my prayers changed, and not just my prayers changed. The biggest thing, when I started to get freedom, my mindset changed. My perception on life changed, because when I found out what was going on with me, I never asked God to remove my mom's cancer. I would ask God to teach me how to be a loving son with a mother that has cancer. Teach me how to be there to support her. Teach me how to be there to love her. Because the last thing my mom wants to see is me hurting, because that's going to make her hurt. It's my time to step up. It's my time to show love, compassion. At the end of the day, the universe is going to do what the universe does. So I quit asking God to take away my addiction, and I started asking God to teach me how to live with it.
Wow.
I am a recovering addict and an alcoholic. That just is what it is. I could fight it as much as I fucking want, and I could be in the delusion that I don't struggle with this shit. But when I got freedom, I was just like, man, like, let's turn this into an opportunity. So because I struggle with drug addiction and alcoholism, I live the life I live today. Because I struggle with alcoholism, I have one of the most purest relationships with my mother than I've ever had in my life because I'm an addict. And the best part is because I'm an alcoholic, I own a very successful boxing gym. I partner up with Sober Livings. I've developed a boxing program for one of the top treatment facilities in the state of Texas. I'm developing another boxing program for another facility right now, an all women's facility. And I get to do all this. I'm financially free because I'm an alcoholic.
Wow.
Again, there's a pony in every pile of shit. And if we don't have the right mindset, Justin, we're never going to be able to tap into some real fucking freedom.
Yeah. I think what's been hardest for me in this fight with addiction is I've been able to do some stuff. I can climb Mount Kilimanjaro with like short time training for it, or take a fight on short notice and end up winning in a great fashion or whatever. And it's like, why can't I just do this? Or this part of me, this identity or this definition or this title of addict and alcoholic, it's been one of the toughest things for me to accept or to embrace.
Yes.
Like what you say, you got to embrace this shit.
When we first talked about that, when I first met you, you embraced it for maybe 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, and I've never seen somebody stay mentally free, let alone sober, if they don't embrace who they really are.
It's true. That's true, because you'll end up. Yeah. You might. Dr. Amen says it's not about positive thinking. It's about accurate thinking.
Yes.
And if you are just trying to positively think your way out of problems, it's like, well, if you have some accurate thinking, that's probably going to help you get over those problems for real.
Well, you're more logical.
Yeah.
Same thing with business. Like, all my best friends work for me, but guess what? I have to make my decisions based off logic and not fucking emotion. The gym will go under if I'm sitting there giving people 5, 6, 7 chances because I love them.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing with addiction.
This episode of Overcome is brought to you by Onnit. Onnit.com. Onnit.com/overcome. Oh, I'm so glad for them. I'm so grateful for that company. Them supporting Fight for the Forgotten, them supporting me personally, them supporting this podcast, them having my back. Internally, they've really blown me away by saying how they're going to stand by me and stick with this. And the podcast with me, with supporting Fight for the Forgotten. And so thank you, Onnit, for supporting me going and taking care of my well-being. For you, listening to this, you can take care of your well-being by getting some of the Onnit products. One of my favorites that I just stocked up on yesterday again is Total Human. Total Human is a morning and night support pack. And they got some incredible positive quotes on there. And I love those every day reading them. But I just stocked up on at least 2 more months because I'm going to be going to treatment. And I'm so grateful that I'm going to have some Onnit products to take care of me while I'm there. You can take care of yourself with Alpha Brain. You can take care of yourself with, if you're working out, I've really started to like their performance. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the name, but they have this performance. Colton, maybe you can pull that up. There's a sports performance or strength performance with Onnit. And I am so grateful for that because I started taking that recently. I hadn't taken it before. In the last month or 2, I feel like I'm making more gains. Onnit Total Strength Performance. And it tastes great. I think it's a strawberry lemonade. Am I right about that? It's caffeine free. And this stuff is just so good. And you can unlock 10% off for you through onnit.com/overcome. And when I was taking this Total Strength and Performance, it just, honestly, like I've been taking it before my workouts the last 2 months, and I'm just feeling like I'm making more gains And it's everything coming together. But this has really helped me. I've been excited that it's a new product. I actually stocked up on more of that yesterday as well. So anyways, we're about to return to the episode. It might be a little heavy, but I hope it's also really helpful, really encouraging. And thank you, Onnit, onnit.com/overcome. Thanks. We're going to get to the gym for sure, because that's for just a little preview for people tuning in. It's Black Sheep Boxing. It's here in Austin, Texas.
Yes.
And for me, it's one of the gyms that I've been a professional fighter for 15 years, right? And a wrestler since I was 15 years old. That's almost 20 years ago. And joining your gym at Black Sheep was one of the most exciting gyms, if not, going after the Ultimate Fighter, went to Grudge Training Center, and I'm training with all these badasses and guys that used to be on my wall as posters when I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm their training partner. And I was so excited to go there. But this one, Black Sheep, I'm more excited to have joined because there's so much purpose in the gym. It's actually helping set people free and give them an outlet.
It's life and death for about 30% of our clients.
Yeah.
Literally, it's life and death. Somebody passed away this morning from drug overdose.
Oh my God. I didn't know that.
It's fucked up how morbid it is.
Yeah.
It's like I had a good friend die recently, and it's just like, okay, I'll pray for him. And there's almost there's nothing when because it's so often, there's been multiple deaths, young deaths. Young deaths. A lot of times it's heroin and fentanyl because of what's going around right now.
I've lost 7 people this year, brother.
Yeah,
and I'm not. I guess I am with the work that we do over in Congo and Uganda, because I've been to 5 funerals of kids under the age of 5 and different stuff, and that's hard on me. But like this year, losing friends to suicide, preventable things, right, or overdose, that's new for me. That's new for me because after treatment, I got into recovery, have some friends that have either been struggling because I struggled with them before and now they finally succumbed to it, or anyways, I do want to get back to what happened 4 years ago. Like, what happened for you to find freedom for the first time? So you went to treatment.
I'll be very, very direct. It's really clear cut with me.
Yeah.
For one, I didn't have any other choices. So I went to Nova Recovery, and it was the first time that I went to a facility on my own. One of my best friends, Steven, he's one of my best friends today. He set that wheel in motion. He said he saw something in me. So coming out of that haze that I told you about, that bar, when I started drinking that Patron, I got kicked out of the house, my mom's house. She said she never want to talk to me, never want to see me again. And I took the little money I had left and I Googled sober living near me. And I went into this facility called Eudaimonia down here in Austin. It's sober apartments. And I still smell like alcohol. So this guy, Steven's like, I can't let you into my fucking sober living. You can't even pass a drug test, bro. And this guy's got tattoos, been to prison. And so there's these 3 other people in the room. The COO, the CEO, and like the director of operations, the CEO, and then the COO of Briarwood Detox. And these individuals, each one of their offices is in a different part. So it's very rare that they're all 3 in the same office. Yeah. I'm like, these are fucking 3 counselors. Like, I don't know. So they bring me in there and they say, Jeff, you really want help? And I'm crying. I'm like, I cannot fucking stop drinking. And what I'm explaining, I've never picked up a book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know what's in that book. And so I'm explaining everything. That's what's in Bill's story. I'm explaining everything to the fucking T. And they got these smiles on their faces, almost like kind of laughing like, we get it, we understand. You know what I mean? And then they sit me out and all their windows are glass. And they pull me back in like 20 minutes later. And then this lady, Colleen, she goes, Jeff, we want to help you because we see some desperation in you that we don't see often. And so Colleen gives me this sticky note and it's an address to a detox. And I'm like, I don't have any money. And she goes, I didn't ask you if you had any fucking money. And they're talking to me like cutthroat, like they're just some amazing people in recovery that help people, and they're in a position to do so. And she goes, Jeff, I didn't ask you that. She goes, if you want help, drive here. I'm driving up and down that street. I drive 10 minutes. I'm on the phone with my mom trying to manipulate my way back home. And she's like, you can't come home. Like you're gone. Like, I don't want nothing to do with you. So I go to this detox and I'm there for 2 weeks, and it's a detox. And I wasn't detoxing after 3 or 4 days. But I had to be there for a certain amount of time in order to go to their next program. And they gave me a counselor, and they don't give people counselors in detox. Yeah. I was getting special treatment from the RIP, and I didn't know I was. They had one of their counselors would pick me up and drive me to a meeting and at a detox. I'm not in IOP, PHP. I'm not at a residential. So this is unheard of. Then they gave me, so then I go into their sober living. Everything's fine. I'm working for my friend. I'm like 2 months sober, never picked up a big book, never went to an AA meeting. I was just going to the gym every day. And then I'm working with my buddy Teddy, Teddy Motorsports, and he's a good friend of mine. And so he gives me his card, and he goes, hey, Jeff, I want you to go to the gas station, give me a pack of cigarettes and a 5-hour energy. And I got a 5-hour energy. And this is when I truly started to understand that it's not just drugs and alcohol. I took that 5-hour energy, and within 10 minutes, I'm going back and I'm getting another one. Mm. Within an hour, I've had like 4 or 5-hour energies. I feel like I'm fucking cracked out. And then on the way home, I went and took my drug test. And then I went and got a Mike's Hard Lemonade. Mm. Within 2 hours, I'm at the club doing cocaine. I stumble in, and Steven, the guy that was there when that original meeting, he's laughing. I'm fucking like dying. I'm hungover. I'm white as a ghost, been doing drugs all night. And I'm like, and he goes, I've been waiting for this. He goes, you haven't done shit. And he goes, Jeff, you want to try some treatment? And I said, man, I don't have any money. He goes, I didn't fucking ask you. I said, do you want to try some treatment, Jeff? And then I said, Steven, I've been incarcerated. For 5 years, I've been away I wasn't there for my nephew's birth. I was actually in a facility, and they let me go see him in the hospital for about an hour. I wasn't there for my brother's wedding. I wasn't there for his bachelor party. So for 5 years, for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Halloween, I was in an institution. 5 years. That would have been my 6th year. And I told Steven, I said, Steven, this was October 23rd. No, October 24th, the morning of October 24th, 2017. And I said, Steven, can I go to treatment the 1st of January? And he starts fucking laughing. I'm just dead serious. And so he goes, Jeff, let me tell you. And I explained it to him why. I said, my nephew's almost 4, and I haven't, or 3, I think. And I haven't really been in his life. I've never been to his birthday. And I've like, well, I haven't been home for Thanksgiving or Christmas. And he goes, Jeff, if you get sober, I promise you will never miss another holiday for the rest of your fucking life. I was life beat me into a corner. And I said, yeah. And he drove me an hour to this treatment facility in Wimberley. Just drove me. He's one of my best friends now. He's also my direct supervisor.
Wow.
Yeah. And I went to Nova Recovery, and I went for 90 days, and I did everything they fucking said. I'm very institutionalized. You tell me to be in bed at 9:45, bro. At 9:40, my head's on the pillow, lights out. Like, I'm very institutionalized. I could follow rules better than anybody on this planet, especially when there's structure involved. So I was the model client. And the thing is, for me, is I didn't know if I was faking it to making it or I was sincere, because I'm so institutionalized. Like I could do whatever I need to do to get an extra hour on the rec yard, where I know how to get extra food. So my bed's got to be on point. So I'm about halfway in, and I sit back and I'm like, am I manipulating my way through this, or am I actually doing this work? And my recovery, she goes, Jeff, just keep fucking doing it. Something's going to click. And something clicked. Something fucking clicked.
About how long in, you think?
The last 3 weeks. Last
How
3
long were
weeks
you
of
there?
90 days.
90 days.
Last 3 weeks. Everything. It's like connecting the dots, bro. I'll never forget it. And just like that. And one of the biggest things that I talked about at the beginning of this podcast.
What you were doing was you were working the steps, you were doing therapy, you were doing
everything, working the steps. But it's a fucking work, man. Yeah. Like that's exactly is I could give the reason. And this is the biggest reason why. There's a sick man's prayer. Remember I told you at the beginning of this podcast that if I ever see my father, I was going to kill him because of what he did to me and my brother and sister.
Yeah.
And that resentment was so rooted, like I'm talking fucking rooted. And throughout this process, I've learned to replace resentments with love and compassion. But I was like, I'm never going to fuck that dude. I'm not going to get over that resentment, you know? And I'm at this koi pond and I'm practicing this sick man's prayer. And I'm like, my father, you know, George Platt was a sick man. Please help me show him the same patience, pity, and tolerance that I would cheerfully show a sick friend. And now my perception started shifting. I didn't know what happened to him when he was a kid. My father never had the opportunity to get help. So now my perception, now I'm viewing my father as somebody that's sick. I'm not mad at him no more. You know? Yeah. So that's when I started to get freedom. When my perception and my mindset started shifting in life.
And whenever you started to be able to let go of those resentments, which is like what do they say? The number one offender, or like the number one reason
it's going to take you out.
Yeah,
it will. It's like when somebody has that much power over you, nobody should have. Nobody
living rent free in your head. Your dad was living rent free in your head for years and years.
You know, and he died of I think like stage 4 lung cancer or something like that. Smoked cigars and I got to see him on his deathbed. You know, and I wasn't mad at him. You know, what he did was fucked up. It was foul. Something no child should ever experience. But it's like, I used to be you cut me off whenever I'm driving, I'm going to get fucking it just pisses me off. Like, dude, you're a fucking asshole. Fuck you. You know, like, but now if somebody cuts me off, I'm like, man, maybe his son just overdosed on heroin and he's rushing to the hospital because he's on life support. Maybe his wife's having his firstborn and he's just wigging out trying to get to the hospital. So he's driving crazy. I'm not resentful. So when that perception and mindset shifts, it just like you see things through a different lens. My thoughts manifest emotions and my emotions manifest actions. If I could stop that snowball effect of fuckery from my thought process, well, then 9 times out of 10, it's never going to surface into a shit show. You know, and all this is a practice. You know, it's being a man in recovery. We're rewiring our brain the way it's been working for 30 fucking years, you know, and hustling and fucking people over and manipulating like that. That's all I knew. You know what I mean? And so it's like transitioning everything into something good. It's been a challenge, but it's been a great challenge. And I've fallen in love with the process, you know, so. But that's when I first started getting freedom. When I'll never forget it. It was almost like I took off a weighted vest. Like I just did like the Mike Murph challenge, you know, and I had that 20-pound weighted vest on. It's right. You take that off and it just drops and your whole body just almost, I will never forget it ever. And that was my first experience with, holy shit, this works.
Ooh.
And it made me hungry. I wanted more. And that's whenever, I dove into the work and over, 4 years, a little over 4 years, there's been ebb and flow. Absolutely. You know, I'm a human being. But it's falling in love with the process has been really important to me.
So Jeff, what was it like after getting out of treatment? Or what was it like at treatment? What was it like whenever you were doing, a lot of people don't know what the 4th and 5th step are. Can you share what that is? Taking a personal moral inventory of yourself.
Yeah.
In 5, you're admitting it in front of God and somebody else.
So in a nutshell, you're taking a look at yourself.
Was that a big moment for you in treatment?
It was hard.
The 4th and 5th step.
Fuck yeah.
4th step's so hard.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people don't get past it, because that's when the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
That's when you put pen to paper.
Yeah.
And I tell you, you can manipulate your way through steps 1, 2, and 3. But whenever it comes to putting pen to paper and truly, truly looking at the way you've showed up and the wreckage that you've caused over the years, that's a tough pill to swallow.
What is that process for people when you take someone through it? What is that you do for someone?
So, I'm not going to get too much into it.
Sure.
Just because
actually that's the 5th step. So 4th step, what did you do for yourself?
You take care of all the resentments in your life. Okay. People, places, and things.
Yeah.
Whether it's penitentiary guards, whether it's my father, people that you love,
people that might have hurt you that you hold a resentment towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this book, it talks about we set the ball rolling. 9 times out of 10, if I look deep enough and if I'm honest with myself, I started that shit. It's like, let me give you an example. One of my employees, a long time ago, would leave early, 5 minutes early. And I got on his ass in a loving way.
Yeah.
But I used to do that shit. Now I have the audacity. You know what I mean? So it's like your approach needs to be different.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? And so what I'm getting at, so with this 4-step process, in a nutshell, you're taking care of these rooted resentments. Like right now, if can you think of somebody to where you just feel that in your chest?
Yeah,
see,
sure.
that is what you're taking care of.
Yeah.
To where you could think of that individual and you're okay. Yeah. It doesn't have any type of power or control over you, because these resentments, they'll eat you alive. Whether it's somebody that did harm to you, whether it's a father, whether you've had some type of early toxicity from your childhood that you never asked for, those things eat you alive.
Yeah. I used to think before I went to treatment and did the 12 steps in treatment, I don't think I got the experience that I'm about to go get. But the thing that I feel like I found was like, oh my gosh, I'm way more resentful than I thought. I don't outwardly show it towards people. Most times I bottle it up, but those resentments, those things that I've held on to, those hurts, pains, like I held resentment to these kids that bullied me early on, and it was eating at me still 20 years later.
It's blocking you off. Okay. What I mean by that. So all this internal calamity that you're experiencing and that you're describing, all these resentments, it's blocking you off from being connected to something that's higher than yourself.
That was a really powerful part for me personally of my 5th step, was letting that go of my resentment towards those kids that told me what I would go through in my cycle of addiction whenever I would use, and then I would feel suicidal. I had this moment where I went to a costume party, and these kids, I was the only one dressed up, and basically they said, you're not good enough to come to my party. You're worthless. You should just kill yourself. And so when I would go through my own depression, that became my own self-talk. It would be, you're worthless. You're not good enough. You should just kill yourself. Yeah. And it was crazy to think, like, letting that go. I haven't been in that place in relapses since, at least that 5th step, where I haven't had that same talk of you're worthless, you're not good enough, you should kill yourself. It hasn't gone all 3 of those. So I did find freedom in at least that with those kids that were so relentlessly basically torturing me with bullying. Yeah. And so that was something for people that have some sort of judgment towards, say, the 12-step program, or because maybe they had a bad experience, or maybe they just heard bad things about it. Like, without even thinking of that, what is the 12 steps done for you personally?
It's so this is the thing. So everybody's entitled to their own opinions.
Right.
Your opinion of me is none of my fucking business. I woke up this morning and I didn't obsess over drugs and alcohol. I could go through my day and look myself in the mirror and be happy with the man I am today. That's what the 12 steps has done for me. I could give 2 shits if people think about it, or it's a cult, or it's this and that. I'm not fucking drowning in a bottle of Jack today. So that's what it's done for me. It's been a process, absolutely. But I truly wish anybody on this earth could work a 12-step program. It just so happened to be that the 12 steps got tailored for people specifically with substance abuse and alcoholism. Okay, so real quick though, so anybody that's struggling in life, if they worked all 12 steps thoroughly and honestly, their life's going to change dramatically. Because all it does, it's teaching people how to be a good human and get rid with these old habits and implement new habits in their life by taking a look at self, identifying where I could be better, and setting a corrective measure for the following day. That's really all it is.
Yeah, that's powerful. I know that the times that I'm really practicing the 10th step, and there's been times I've called you and I've been going through something, and you help me see myself, right? What's that? How did you say it that one time? Self can't see self.
Self can't see self. It's my ego. My ego is almost fucking killed me. And I'm very transparent with where I have been at in my life, and my ego with the success it showed in multiple areas, and it's almost killed me. But because self can't see self. My best friends, one of my best friends, Tony, he's a peer recovery coach. He owns Badass Recovery. He is a phenomenal human being. And he'll call me, bro, and he'll be like, you might want to take that post down because I don't see it. And then I reread it from the direction he gives me his advice. And I'm like, fuck, let me delete that. It's the fellowship, and it's my brothers, and it's my friends in recovery, or just my friends in general that know how to hold me accountable, not from a place of better than, but just from a place of love, because they don't want to see me get in a wreck, and they definitely don't want to see me fucking overdose, and they definitely don't want to see me die from cirrhosis of the liver. Without accountability, now they're just enablers.
Right. And so through the 12 steps, you do find a way that someone else is holding you accountable, and also you are holding yourself accountable through those 10 steps, those nightlies where you just do this kind of this daily review.
Yeah.
Which
you get a daily reprieve.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing is I'm so bad at fucking doing my nightlies. I haven't done one in a long time, and fucking Steven's probably going to kick my ass for that. But the thing is whenever I sit in silence a lot. I meditate more today than I probably ever meditated in my life. And a lot of people don't know I do, because whenever I just see an opportunity to sit in silence, I shut the fuck up. I put my phone down and I just sit there. And whenever I truly sit in silence, I could comb through my day, and I'm like, man, I should probably apologize or make amends for that. And everything starts coming to surface, and I could see where I fell short. It's the self-awareness, becoming mindful throughout this process and being so self-aware of my actions. And it's been really challenging over the past 6 months of my life. It was been more challenging than almost the 4 years before that. Because
you started a business. I grew up with two parents that were both business owners, and pretty much everyone in my family, and man, like starting it, that's such a stressful time. And moving, I know you've been starting a business that's it's doing so good, man. It's helping so many people, and you've moved, and just lots of stuff.
Well,
man.
we have the sober responsibilities. We also have the boxing program for infinite recovery.
Right.
I still work with them. So I have my hand in a good bit of cookie jars.
Infinite Nova, Infinite? No.
So
different places.
They're totally two different places. Two amazing places.
Right.
I owe my infinite recovery family and everybody that is involved with those programs, and the detox and the PHP, IOP, the residential, their team is just by far amazing. Nova is where I went, and Nova set that wheel in motion.
Right.
Nova saved my life with a couple of specific individuals that guided me to Nova.
Right. That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, tell me about Black Sheep. Where'd the vision start? Where did you start boxing? And then how did you start helping others box?
So it's It's a very interesting story. So I boxed on and off my entire childhood, but I did it for the wrong reasons. I did it because I wanted people to fear me. I did it for the validation. I didn't do it because I wanted to learn the art, of the fundamentals of boxing, to understand weight transition, all the good stuff. I did it because I wanted people to view me a specific way. That was the only fucking reason. And then soon I got tied up in every time I would register to actually truly get involved in competing, my alcoholism I'd take one step forward and 50 million thousand steps backwards. And then I'd start boxing again. And then, it was tough. So anyway, there was probably about an 8-year gap where I didn't touch boxing gloves, in and out of, all the institutions and the penitentiary and all the good stuff. And then, so it all comes about. I'm with one of my best friends now, Tony. I'm working for Recovery Unplugged. And it was my first job in treatment. I'm about 6 months sober. And my buddy, Ray Price, okay, he's an amazing individual. He's one of my closest friends. I'm living down south in a sober living house. And then I found out he lived right down the street off South First Street. And I call him up and he's like, bro, got to come over, man. I just got a house. He's not in the program. He's just a very healthy individual, very successful. And I'm over there and he's like, hey, I'm going to Academy. Do you want to go with me? And I'm like, yeah, cool. And he knew me in my addiction, so he supported me getting sober and all the good stuff. And on the way there, I'm like, what are you getting? And this is how it all fucking started. I remember like it was yesterday. He goes, I'm going to get a speed bag and a heavy bag. It's like, all right, cool, man. I haven't touched the gloves in a long time. And he's an entrepreneur, and a lot of people don't know this about me, but before I got sober, I owned a very successful clothing line. I'm not going to get too far into it, but we were in 6 stores on consignment, not on contract. It was alcohol infused, and I've always been an entrepreneur. And so me and him, he's a successful entrepreneur. And so we, of course, now we're talking about ideas. Let's paint the fucking walls black. And I'm like, man, we could start training in the garage. And first we were doing it specifically just for us two. And then a good buddy of mine that I worked with at Recovery Unplugged, he was my buddy Christian. He was a little on the heavier side. And so in penitentiary this last time, all I did was study metabolism, kinesiology, vitamins, minerals, recommended daily allowance, how to meal prep and meal plan depending on, what kind of body type you have. All I did was study. So how I made a living in prison is I would develop workout programs and meal programs for individuals depending on what kind of money they have coming in on their commissary. So I would help inmates lose weight before they get released from prison. And that's how I made a living in prison. I was very good at it. And so and Christian knew this about me. Yeah. And I studied these books. All I did was play chess, jump rope, and study in prison. My mom sent me, I'm talking so many fucking books on vitamins, nutrition. And so anyway, so Christian knew this about me, and he's like, I want to help you lose weight. And I'm like, cool, man. Well, you know what? We got a bag. So let's take a boxing approach. And so over his time, he just kept going. He lost about 80 pounds.
80 pounds.
80 pounds.
80 pounds through boxing.
80 pounds.
And he was in recovery.
Yeah, he was in recovery, but not just the boxing, like everything that I suggested for him whenever it came to tips and tricks for portion control, understanding, just carbohydrates and a specific, we dove into it. And he took everything that I told him, and then he did his own studying on top of that. You can't ask for a more perfect client. It was my first one. Yeah. And now he's still got the weight off. He's an amazing individual, still helping people. And that's when it started, and people saw his weight falling off. And then it just started growing. And so we named it Warrior Boy Boxing. And we were training out of a garage. At one point, we've got pictures on our gym now. At one point, we had 15 people in this garage, all doing jumping jacks at 7 p.m., running a class all in the driveway. Of course, HOA shuts us down. Of course. We were growing so fast. So then from there, we were figured out, what are we going to do? So from there, I heard Mentopolis Rec Center. They had a boxing ring and stuff. So I took the program there. I'm still working in treatment. So my entire life is meetings. I work 8 hours at a treatment facility as a tech. Before and after my shift, I'm training people at this rec center. one-on-ones, running groups. There was no life. And I did that. I was in that facility for about 5 months, and then they closed down. So then, we had some good momentum. So then I started training people in the field in Zilker Park. And I'm making a jump.
It's a cool spot to do it.
Yeah, it's still working in treatment.
People don't know that's Austin's like premier park.
Yes.
And it's in the city on a lake in downtown, but it's in nature and it's right by Barton Springs, and it's an incredible spot. So to go boxing with all that beauty and in nature, like that's
those are down.
I love to go work out there. What's that?
Bags.
Yeah. There's no bags. So, everyone's got to bring all their equipment to the park.
Well, so we had to, so I'm holding pads, and you know about this. I'm holding pads for hours on end while I'm working in treatment. Shoulders are shot. I had to switch up maybe a more hit style training, battle ropes, all the good stuff. And then finally I went to a garage, my buddy Andrew, I got another job at Infinite Recovery's Detox. This is probably about a year after the program's been alive. I've been grinding. This is 7 days a week, Justin. There's no days off. 7 days a week, I'm training people. And I started charging $80 a month for 4 sessions a week. Of course now, but I started at just to give. Anyway, so I got a job at Infinite Recovery's Detox. And then my good friend Andrew, he said, Jeff, I need to move into a house, started saving up. And then from there, started training out of his garage in Georgetown. I had the delusion, I'm going from South Austin, Georgetown. Nobody's going to follow me. Nobody's going to want to participate. And everywhere I went, it just kept growing and kept growing. HOA kicked me out of his garage. So then I'm trying to find a solution. And my good buddy, Ryan Spencer, he's the director.
I know Ryan is great.
Huh?
Ryan helped me with Chris Murphy.
Yeah. You know Ryan.
Smile, Chris.
So Ryan, he's the national director of alumni for RU. He's a very good buddy of mine. He was like, Jeb, he's cool as shit. And he was like, yeah, I'd come over, man, and fucking take the garage. You just got a brand new house. And I'm like, you sure? Ryan, like, are you sure? Like, there's going to be a lot of traffic. And he's like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. So I converted this garage. And every time I built these gyms in this garage, and when I say built, matted floors, custom paint, TVs, multiple heavy bags, assault bikes. Like, no, we didn't just put up a heavy bag. Like, we really decorated it. Wow. Posters. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look on our social media, you can't tell. You can tell it's a garage, but it's like some money went into these projects. And so I'm like, all right. So then I'm at his house for about 7 months, 7 days a week. At this point, I'm only doing one-on-ones and specifically working with people with mental health and substance abuse. I actually have to backtrack because it was Warrior Boy Boxing. And then after the rec center, when I went to Zilker Park, Ray couldn't dedicate his time anymore. So then I was working in treatment. And everybody always says, I feel like the black sheep of my family when they get out of detox. Mm. So that's where Black Sheep Boxing came from. I'll never forget, I'll keep his name anonymous, but he was in treatment and we're having a conversation. I'm thinking of a name to call this boxing program because it was Warrior Boy Boxing before Ray. He got an amazing job opportunity. Sure. So he kept moving on. And he was telling me, yeah, I just feel like the black sheep of my family. And then just like, that's it. Hmm. That's it, Black Sheep Boxing. And I pitched it to a facility. I'm not going to say which one. Yeah. And they pretty much laughed at me.
Turned it down.
Oh yeah. And it motivated me so much. And so anyway, so back to the third garage. I'm there for about 6-7 months. And guess what?
HOA.
HOA sends Ryan a letter and he's just like, I love you, bro. But I mean, it looked like a fucking trap house. Yeah. There was people coming in every hour at the top of every hour.
That probably worry some neighbors, even if they have boxing gloves.
Yeah. And I was working with, one of the neighbor's kids. Yeah. So, but it was somebody, but at the end of the day, all it was, again, my perception, my mindset, right? The universe has just been redirected me where I need to be. Mm. And every time HOA kicked me out, I was pissed. Because I was in fear that I'm going to fail by making changes because these changes involve risk. A lot of people don't want to take a risk, especially when it comes to finances. Yeah. But now that I look at it on the timeline of things, the universe has just been redirecting me to where I'm here now. So in the middle of all that, of course, a treatment facility reached out to me, Steven. He's the director of operations. And I was working at the detox and he said, Jeff, would you like to bring boxing to treatment? And I said, absolutely. Like, that's my fucking goal. And he knew it. And I was like, and he goes, good. We're opening up an all men's or a men's and women's facility in Liberty Hill on a 99-acre ranch, and have at it. And it's been amazing. And I actually just built.
Isn't this the first combat sports? Or go ahead.
It's the first boxing program for an inpatient treatment facility in the United States.
First boxing program for an inpatient drug treatment facility, drug and alcohol substance abuse treatment facility in the United States.
Correct.
That's a huge accomplishment, my man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's, and it gets better.
Yeah.
You know,
keep going.
And we just built a boxing ring. We've got 6 heavy bags on a track system.
There at Infinite?
Yeah.
Cool.
We've got the countless beautiful stories, and there's a lot of death too. I mean, I've experienced a lot of death, but there's 10 times more beautiful stories than there are from overdoses.
Yeah.
And so anyway, from there, from when Ryan kicked me out of the garage, I didn't know what I was going to do. So the owners of Big Tex Gym, Rob and Esther, amazing individuals. They own a gym up north, and they were looking for a boxing coach to train at their facility. And the funny thing is,
one of the best gyms in Austin.
Yes.
With like the big boys, the actual pro, like world class level bodybuilders that, you know, their traps.
Yeah.
They don't have a neck. Their earlobes sit on top of
the Hulk.
Yeah. The Hulk.
And they're amazing individuals, but this is how the universe works. They were fixing to call me to talk to me about bringing me on board the minute I was looking for a new place. So I called Rob and Esther. Rob and Esther knew me when I was in my addiction. And actually, one of the owners would write me in prison, Andrew, one of the owners of Big Tex. And I was good friends with Josiah, Rob's younger brother, and they'd write me whenever I was incarcerated. So anyway, so they saw my story and they saw how well I was doing. So I called Rob and Esther was, she goes, Jeff, we were just talking about you. We were just fixing to reach out to you. So I come into Big Tex Gym, and I've been saving every penny for almost 3 years now. I'm driving a 99 Honda Accord. I don't spend money on stuff. I'm sponsored by a meal prep company. So I didn't pay for food. Like every penny, I paid rent, cell phone bill. I'm saving, because I knew one day that I was going to open up a gym. And so I'm in Big Tex. November 18th is when I started training there. By December 1st, I bought a $10,000 boxing ring, and we just made it fit. They got this huge gym, and there's just a random USA Boxing pro boxing ring in the middle of this fucking strongman gym. It was so random. And the program really started to grow. And my best friend, Sky, we've known each other since 9. He's one of the closest people that are in my life. He's been there with me through anything. He owns a gym. His family owns a gym that called Unity Taekwondo it'll be 30 years now, but he took it over 13 years ago, and it's Unity Taekwondo and MMA. I've got the money and I've got the clientele, but I don't know what to do. Like I'm a recovering drug addict that spent most of my life incarcerated. You know, I don't know the systems and taxes and CPAs. I'm learning, you know. So I call him, and he's in New Braunfels.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's in New Braunfels looking for some property because he's like, Houston, he's just tapped out. He's had a gym there for a long time. He loves it there, but he needs something new. And I made a joke. I was like, Sky, go into business with me. And he's like, done. Like, he's dead fucking serious, man. And within an hour, we're touring properties. I shit you not.
Wow.
And we just kept searching. And lo and behold, the property right next to Big Tex Gym, this empty church, wasn't even on the market. We got an inside scoop about it. And we signed a 5-year lease.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's where I train now.
Yeah. And I took this $10,000 pro boxing ring. I put it into this facility. And then me and Sky each went to our bank accounts. We didn't get a loan, nothing. We're not in debt. I am extremely grateful. And the thing is I didn't know what I was saving for, but I knew. And the timeline of everything it's the universe. Everything. If some of these things was one day away, I wouldn't be here where I am today. And I owe all this because I'm an alcoholic.
Wow. Well, Jeff, I'm so grateful for your perspective, right? You've obviously done a lot of internal deep work.
Yeah.
Work to go from just like being institutionalized, as you've said, to like having this perspective of like looking at all the pieces, being able to, in hindsight, seeing all the things that had to fall into place to now open a gym that, how many members do we have at Black Sheep Boxing now?
We're right under 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
in 5 months.
In 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it's not a new team, a new gym, but it's 5 months at its new facility. And
I'll tell you a little bit about it.
Yeah.
So it's the first 24-hour combat sport facility in the United States. And what I mean by that, all my staff is composed of recovering alcoholics and recovering drug addicts. A couple of trainers aren't, but the main front desk staff, my pad holders, boxing coaches, my assistant manager, myself, are all in recovery. We have a Fight for Your Life program where we scholarship about 2 to 3 people a month. Maybe every month and a half. We pay for all their training, all their gear, absolutely everything that they need, as long as they're doing what they need to do to stay sober. We have a 24-hour door. So anybody that's struggling with substance abuse, if they want to shoot dope or go to the bar, they have access to come in and hit the heavy bag. Doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. All they got to do is scan their barcode. And it's pretty fucking amazing because a lot of this stuff, I didn't know what I was doing, but I had this very clear vision 3.5 years ago to develop a boxing program for the recovery community. And so to kind of solidify everything, a lot of people say, Jeff, why boxing? There's a million reasons why combat sports helps cope with PTSD, anxiety, mental health, and substance abuse. And I'll tell you the top 2 that I explain to everybody whenever I really get into these conversations is, 1, it's the most natural way to ground yourself. For a man that struggles with mental health and substance abuse, I'm always in the future. I'm in the past. It's very rare that I'm truly living in the here and now, and I'm living in the moment. Because I'm the finances, the bills, the business, the members, the relationship, the job, the programs, the this, the that, the this. So whenever I wrap my hands, Justin, I get in front of another human being, whether we're doing some technical sparring or we're just doing some heavy bag work, some pad work, I get to detach from all that outside issues. And without me literally trying to ground myself, I ground myself. I do it. It's inevitable. You can't not train in some type of combat sport while you're obsessing or you're in the shit.
Yeah. I mean, whenever you're getting punches thrown at you, you are not thinking about the argument you had with
I don't want to get hit.
Yeah. You're not thinking about, what your boss said or anything like that. You're there in that moment. And that's what I love, being in the flow during an actual MMA fight, because there's nothing like it. You are so in that moment, reading everything he's doing. It's almost like it's part you're thinking every single thing through, and part you've put in all the preparation that now you just get to get in that flow. And it's muscle memory, it's reaction, it's prediction.
You're living in the present.
Mm-hmm. And for an addict, right?
Yeah.
You're either living in regret of the past or fear of the future.
Yes.
And so you can't be here now.
Correct.
Because you're worried about where you're going to be in the future, and you're regretting all the shit that from the past. If you're not working a program and getting help and going to therapy and doing good things for your body. And so I love it, man. I do want to share that, Century Martial Arts is one of my friends, and they've been donors of Fight for the Forgotten. And when we went up to Oklahoma for you to help me move back, we got to go up there and take a tour and meet with the founder's son, who's going to be taking it over. And he's just eventually, and he's such an incredible guy, Michael Dillard and Mikey Dillard and Kyle and Paul and all these guys. And they were so encouraged to see you, bro. because they couldn't believe that in like it was less than 2 months.
Yeah, we had like 120.
Yeah, 120 members.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are about to break 200. Yeah. And they were telling you that they've been working with martial arts academies that have been in business more than 10 years and can't break 100.
Yeah.
You know, they're at 35, they're at 50, and they're just trying to get members.
Well, I truly think it's because we're in the business of helping people.
Oh yeah, dude. That's exactly what I was about to say.
In all transparency, Sky owns a gym. He's got a source of income.
Yeah.
I developed boxing programs and I still work in treatment. I have a great job that pays for all my bills. So we don't rely on Black Sheep Boxing we don't take any money out. Everything that goes into this gym, we invest. We invest to our clients. We invest into helping people. And a lot of people have told me that it shows and it's attractive because we're purpose driven.
Yes.
We're a purpose driven gym. And we have not said no to anybody that has walked through our door that wants to train. And what I mean by that, when I give out more free memberships than I could count. And I don't just do it and I go tell people. It's more like so I could see they're struggling. I'm like, hey man, this month don't worry about it and let me know when you get back on your feet. I had a buddy, I'm not going to say his name, came in about 4 days ago, and he told one of my staff members that he's struggling because one of my coaches paid his day pass. And then he called me and he goes, hey man, so-and-so was struggling. And I was like, well, did he pay a day pass? He goes, well, I took care of it for him. And then I messaged him on social media and I said, bro, show up and train. Don't worry about nothing. And when you get back on your feet, you can let us know. And that's just one example. And it's like, when I first started this stuff, one of my mentors, Tony Jeffries, Yeah. Good. He's a good friend, and he's just good people. He told me he whenever I talked to him, I was out in Florida for one of the boxing burning.
For people who don't know, Tony Jeffries was an Olympic bronze medalist in boxing. I think he retired undefeated or something like that. Or maybe
somewhere around there. It was
like 10 or 20-0, but he had a bunch of hand injuries and other things.
Phenomenal individual.
And he's actually an Onnit Pro guy with me. He's sponsored by Onnit, and he helped you even inspire you to start up Black Sheep and all that stuff.
When I met Tony, I was still training at the rec center. Wow. And so Tony's seen it all. And that program set the wheel in motion, but there's so many amazing things happening. Sure. But Tony told me, he goes, give, and don't fucking stop giving until the universe gives back.
Wow.
And that's been my business motto. Literally, people think I'm fucking crazy. And my business partner, Allison, which is Sky's wife, she's like the glue that holds it all together.
Yeah, for sure.
She's an amazing human being. She makes sure we pay our taxes and don't end up in jail. But she'll tell us, hey, you really got to stop giving shit away. You know, like even Sky, when his gym out there, because like we just don't give a fuck. Like, of course, we pay the bills, but every time we seem to give some or help somebody, we run a free shoe program. Anybody under the age of like 14 that needs free boxing shoes.
Bro, I've seen you give away 20 pairs of boxing shoes that are brand new, that maybe were returned or whatever, but they send them to y'all because they know it's going to be put to good use.
To a good home.
Those returns, they give them to you. Now you're going to give them to a kid whose family's struggling with addiction, or the kid. We can.
It's all case by case.
Is it all right to remain nameless, but to share a story of one of the young men that are at Black Sheep Boxing?
Absolutely.
That he was a refugee, and can you share?
Oh man,
is that okay?
Yeah, that's just powerful. From Syria.
Yeah.
Lived in an apartment complex 2 streets away or something like that. Yeah. Lived in a house with, I think 10, 12, 13 people. All of his little brothers. He had 2 of his little brothers got blown up in car bombs. Yeah. Witnessed it all. Yeah. And this little kid will sit here and tell you with no emotion. He talks about it like he's talking about an incident that happened at recess. It's fucking morbid. Amazing, talented young man.
Oh, dude, I love being around him.
Yeah.
I love being around him. I light up when I see him. And he works hard. He encourages people. He's happy to be here there. Like, Black Sheep is his place. That's his home. That's his community.
Yeah. He showed up before we were even open. We were painting the walls. We were still doing demo work. And he showed up and he just hung out, man. And he's been there ever since. He actually hasn't been around for a while because of school. Oh, yeah. And his parents are really strict. But every now he'll pop back in. Yeah. But for about 3 months, man, he lived there.
Oh, he lived there the whole summer. The whole summer he was there.
Yeah. And we don't fucking charge him, you know?
Yeah, sure. But I think people need to know whether they're in recovery or they're going through something like that. A young kid that watched his siblings die in a car bomb.
Yeah.
Or anybody in life. We need to have a place that we can belong, have community, have tribe, have fellowship. And that's what Black Sheep is providing. And I'm so incredibly grateful for that. I'm grateful for the man that you are. Well, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of our episode with Jeffery Meadows. He's just a warrior in life. He helps fight battles of his own and then helps others with their battles in their greatest times of need. He's been there for me, and he's been there for some of my friends, training partners. Dude's a saint. He's just trying his best, but he wouldn't like me calling him a saint. But I really would appreciate if you tune into part 2, because we're going to get into some nitty gritty of me going back to treatment. We also have a pretty, he gives me some, I wouldn't call it tough love, but he's a mirror for me. Right. And he opened my eyes to a couple things that I really need to walk into treatment to really look at and to explore. And I'm really grateful that he's going to be there a few days a week, at least, while I'm at treatment. And, you'll be able to help remind me of this conversation we had. And anyways, thank you so much for listening to the show. Thank you, On It, for sponsoring the show. Thank you, Hot Pie Media. Everyone's been so gracious and loving and kind as I've been opening up and being real and honest, saying that I need to go get some help. So, please rate, review, subscribe, share this out if it helped you. Share it with any friends, family, anyone that's struggling. That might need help overcoming maybe something similar to Jeff has or to me. Thanks so much. You have overcome 100% of your darkest days.
Hey, don't forget to send your Overcome stories to overcomepodcast@gmail.com. And also rate, review, subscribe, and follow Overcome with Justin Wren.